and welcome to this Moneycontrol live stream. You're watching Closing Bell. I am Nandita Khemka.
And I am Yatin Mota.
Well, the markets ended the week on a sanguine note. Look at the Nifty that has reclaimed that 18,000 mark after 44 sessions, Yatin. And in fact, when you look at a monthly basis, it was the best monthly gains for Nifty since November. And you know, if you look at the realty index for the week, it has gained somewhere around 5%. So, you know, the mojo is back, and we have among the top Nifty gainers, you have the likes of realty, as I mentioned, PSU banks, IT. You know, private banks were struggling earlier in the session, but you know, even towards the end of the session, even they started participating.
Correct.
So, barring Axis Bank, you had most of the banks also, private banks also turning positive. Among the top gainers, you had the likes of Adani Twins, you had Wipro on the back of the buyback news, and of course, you had the likes of Britannia and Nestle. They were also among the few gainers on the Nifty. If you look at the losers, you had Axis Bank, as I mentioned, you had Bajaj Finserv, HUL Titan before earnings next week. They were among the top Nifty losers. Kotak Mahindra Bank will be reporting earnings tomorrow, so that stock will be watched out for next week. And you know, aside of that, some of the cues that will be coming in will be, of course, the Fed FOMC meeting that takes place on the 2nd and 3rd of May. Remember, US GDP has you know, grown just about 1.1%. That's below estimates, and at a time when inflation remains much above our the US Fed's comfort zone of 5%. So the Fed will be walking a tightrope walk, so to say, because you know, they are expected to hike rates by 25 basis points, and it is widely expected to be their last hike in the rate hike cycle. Yatin.
So, you know, clearly the market's advance decline ratio also was almost 2:1. So, the market breadth was healthy, and more importantly, Nandita, we crossed that 18,000 level and in style. More importantly, in the last 15 minutes of trade, you know, I was looking at the markets and I probably thought that from 18,000, 18,100 looks so fast. So the kind of market momentum we saw it's amazing. Obviously, we have a lot of earnings which will come on the weekend as well as next week. And market has been, you know, probably not unhappy and not very happy, but yes, consistency.
To say the least,
So the results reactions are not that consistent, but yes, I think the initial knee jerk when we saw during the IT results of TCS Infosys, probably we thought that the markets will be, you know, in a range or probably look out for other cues. But yes, once that IT results moved out, you know, markets have slowly, gradually moved. In fact, Reliance also did not give a reaction post the earnings, but post you know, 3-4 days, you have seen some momentum again in the index names.
Right. With that, let's move on to some of the stocks that are on our radar this afternoon. I would like to, you know, list out Indian Hotels as one of my stocks, you know, given the fact that it has reported a very strong set of numbers for the fourth quarter. You know, in fact, it has clocked in its best ever full year performance. You know, average room rate, you know, remains above that 11,500 rupees, and occupancy rate is above 71%, which is quite healthy, given the fact that, you know, we still have a lot of events to look out for when some of these hotel stocks are concerned, and they will be aiding revenue growth for these hotels companies, the likes of, you know, G20 meetings, then there's World Cup later on in the year, and of course you have the return of foreign tourists with reopening of China and other nations as well, right? So there is still a room for a lot of growth when it comes to some of these hotel companies. In fact, Puneet Chatwal, who's the management of Indian Hotels, was on CNBC today, and you know, he said that they are far ahead of the pre-COVID levels, and in fact, he's also said that the best is still yet to come. And if you look at the brokerage notes, Jefferies has a buy rating on the stock with a target price of 380 rupees per share. But most of these hotel stocks, Yatin, over the last 1 year have gained somewhere around 30% or thereabouts. Indian Hotels, I think even Royal Orchid Hotels has gained somewhere around that that percentage. What about you? What's your first
so
stock
you
on
know,
the list?
it's a sector, in fact, Nandita, we should really focus on the auto shares. Obviously, Maruti, Bajaj Auto came out with good earnings. The stocks are in momentum. But if you look at the overall scenario for auto stocks, they are doing well. And you know, this time in the month of March, probably there was some good traction. If you look at April also, we had some new launches, and generally, you know, April is one month when you see some festive you know, season buying, especially on Akshaya Tritiya, which has been good season according to dealer checks. So the month of April has been good. So watch out for the auto sales numbers. Jefferies is bullish on India automotive industry. They expect a 15 to 16% automotive sales growth especially for Royal Enfield and Mahindra. Obviously, Mahindra & Mahindra, because their new models are doing well. They expect a 10% volume growth for Ashok Leyland this time, and also expect some good single digit growth for Bajaj Auto, TVS Motors, as well as Maruti Suzuki. So, the auto numbers should be good for the month of April. In fact, TVS Motors, Tata Motors, as well as Sona BLW, which is basically electric vehicle play, are the top picks of Jefferies in the sector. So, autos expected to do well. Let's see how April numbers shape up, and obviously there are 2 quarterly results, 3 quarterly results still pending from the auto industry. So, those numbers also will be watched out for.
All right, the second stock on my radar today is Trent. It reported a fairly mixed set of numbers. Revenues were strong on the back of low base and network expansion, but it was the margins that came as a big disappointment. And you know, higher raw material prices have impacted the margins, but it is the increasing share of Zudio versus Westside that has actually impacted margins, you know, because Zudio is a value brand, whereas Westside is a brand that aims or that targets customers from mid to high high level segments, right? So, but brokerages are not really worried because they feel that it's a high inventory turnover from Zudio that will offset the impact of low margins, right? And it will aid, in fact, profit margins going forward. So, you know, we may be purchasing clothes at a cheaper price, but that is costing the company its margins, right? But that's short-lived, and ICICI Securities has a buy rating on the stock. So, going forward, the prospects for Trent look pretty strong, even though the stock was down and out in today's session, but still it managed to recoup some of the losses and end lower by about 1.5%.
Clearly, so that's the story for Trent, the Tata Group company, which is the owner of Zara. Obviously, you saw Syngene graphics playing, when we're talking about Trent, but let's talk about Syngene also now. Jefferies has a buy rating on this stock with a target of 750, and in an environment where pharma companies are doing slightly weaker in terms of margin outlook as well as US business, Syngene is one company which has upped the guidance for FY24. Now, if you look at Jefferies, results were quite strong for the 4th quarter. In fact, they have been better than what they had guided. And if you look at FY24, the guidance is good, as I was talking about earlier. If you look at the discovery platform as well as the manufacturing vertical, there also we are looking at some traction which will come. They also have tied up for animal health products with a foreign company, and that collaboration also should give good results for FY24. Net, if you look at the pharma outsourcing business, it has some good tailwinds. यानी यहाँ अभी भी थोड़ा बहुत दमखम बचा हुआ है, जिसका फायदा सिंजीन को हो सकता है, और शायद इसीलिए यहाँ खरीदारी की सलाह ब्रोकरेज दे रहे हैं. आज भी अगर आप देखें स्टॉक में 3 से 4% का ट्रैक्शन था. ये थोड़ा स्लो काउंटर है, थोड़ा इन्वेस्टमेंट साइड और पोजिशनल साइड पे स्टॉक चलता है, तो नज़र रखिए इस काउंटर पे जो एक बायोकॉन की सब्सिडरी है.
Well, pharma पे हम नजर रखेंगे, but यातिन long weekend है, we are going into long weekend. We are in a happy mood given the fact that Nifty ने 18,000 मार्क को reclaim कर लिया है. But long weekend का क्या प्लान है आपका?
Long weekend का कोई प्लान नहीं है, यही जो काम बचे हुए हैं मार्च एंड वाले वही करेंगे. बट हाँ, 3 दिन की छुट्टी है, मंगलवार को फिर से आप लोगों से मुलाकात होगी मनी कंट्रोल के इस प्लेटफॉर्म पे.
Thanks a lot for watching.
How many companies you look up?
I may look up 4, 5, 6, 7 or more. Whatever is of interest, it could be more than that. I look up. Before not coming here, I was going somewhere else. I looked up 5 balance sheets on Moneycontrol, not necessarily the company, to understand this is in the banking space, to look at what has happened to capital, what has happened to profitability, what is happening to ROE. I was speaking somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I'll do it on the fly. It took me exactly 3 minutes, thanks to Moneycontrol. First thing to come up is Moneycontrol. So I don't even have to scroll down to look at. I click and I get what I want.